Today on the Topping Show, Vivek on steps to ensure a fair voting and unite the USA goes viral. Biden says you cannot own a cannon, which is a blatant lie. You can and you should. Planet Fitness male is arrested for changing in front of women. Elon roast NPR for having zero political diversity. Meta to debut their own chip system for AI. Tesla visits India as speculation builds that they may expand there. Walmart to pay out about $40 million for a class action lawsuit for allegedly having improper weight for foods. All of that and much, much more on The Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. I say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Meta to debut a faster chip system for AI. Now, this perhaps isn't too surprising. They're going to be joining many of their peers that are starting to manufacture their own AI chips, where in past, predominantly is pretty much all done by NVIDIA, who's one of the best IT companies on the planet when it comes to architecture and design of graphics cards, pretty much bar none. However, when you have the type of scale, when you're Meta, aka Facebook, any savings add up in the aggregate, and there's a lot of benefits of manufacturing your own to your own specs, your own speeds and feeds, especially if you want to start spicing up with some proprietary magic with your AI offering. Now, Facebook, of course, is not the first to deviate this, start doing their own infrastructure. You also have Google and Microsoft famously starting to debut their own chipsets. Now, this was first reported thanks to Kara Reinhardt over at LinkedIn News, and she said, quote, Meta has introduced a new generation of custom chips now in production, aiming to ramp up its artificial intelligence efforts and reduce its reliance on outside suppliers such as NVIDIA. This announcement comes days after Intel unveiled a faster AI accelerator, and rivals, including Google and likewise developing AI chips in-house. Meta is spending billions to catch up, according to TechCrunch. For now, Meta Training and Interference Accelerator trains its ranking and recommendation algorithms, but its goal is to use MTIA for generative AI, like its large language model Llama. Which at least gets an A+ for marketing because it's moderately amusing. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, AI is the biggest trend in IT, bar none. A couple years ago, the biggest thing in the world was, well, it was really the blockchain. We couldn't go 2 seconds without hearing something about mining Bitcoin or something to that effect, where NVIDIA also won that competition, bar none, and made a pretty penny. Well, a pretty vintage penny, which is actually made of copper. Modern pennies are 99.99% zinc and simply copper plated, which is perhaps a metaphor for how useless our money is in the United States these days. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not too surprised. Again, they're going to be able to, long term, you're going to consolidate your costs. You're also going to have more of a special offering. It almost is a question of not if, but when these major tech companies are starting to just develop more and more in-house. And I suspect that pendulum will continue to swing in that direction, as, of course, this will be able to offer them more and more custom proprietary things to their end users. Will Facebook probably succeed in this effort? Well, yeah, I can't but think, but yes, you have billions of dollars of resources. They have some exceptional engineering resources over there as well. It'll probably be an exceptional long-term thing for the company. But let me know, do you think it might backfire or for some reason not work in their favor? As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Tesla visiting India with the speculation building that they'll be expanding there. Now, this is coming to us thanks to Emma Thorne, and she noted that, quote, Tesla CEO will travel to India to meet with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Most said in a post on X, the billionaire is expected to announce a new Tesla factory and wire investment in the country. Again, this is citing anonymous sources from Reuters. Last month, India introduced a new policy lowering the import taxes on some electric vehicles from 100% to 15%. If the manufacturer invests at least $500 million and sets up a factory in the country. That move came after lobbying from Tesla, which he wanted to enter India market since 2021. And yet another reason why you may not be interested in politics, but politics is very much interested in you, especially if you own a business or are part of the business world in any way. And again, considering India's vast opportunity, I mean, over 1 billion prospective clients, granted, well, actually, you could argue over 1 billion prospective clients, since With the magical Teslas, you don't need to be 18 to drive them. The computer will drive itself, some say. So that's a pretty big total addressable market, and they have a younger workforce, and they are gaining in terms of their income levels. It's one of the best markets on the planet. That's why so many businesses are bending over backwards to get there. And this would be copying what Apple does. And again, this also goes to show you the importance of political policy. One of the reasons Apple is manufacturing phones in India is because the Indian government said they had to, in order to properly enter the country and have their own Apple stores there. Again, you've had third parties in some capacity selling to Apple stores, but if you want an actual Apple store and build out the presence there, there are many reasons why Apple set up a factory in India, and the percentage of phones manufactured in India for the iPhone is dramatically increasing in rate, and they're starting to move the pendulum or move away from China, which shot themselves in the foot, or karate chopped themselves in the foot. Some funny metaphor, although not somewhat ironically, or just not being able to speak properly today. They also are known for the advent of gunpowder. But I partially digress. I think, $500 million to set up that factory, again, because again, just think of that. The import fees go from 100% to 15%. And they just have to, I say just, but they have to spend $500 million to set up a factory. There's no such thing as a sure shot or sure investment. I'd like to say some guesses are more educated than others. And I can't help but think this is going to be a big win for India. And India is generating jobs with this. They're kindly, what's the nice way of saying forcing? They are incentivizing companies to manufacture products over there, which again is going to boost their local economy as well. So I don't think you'll be too surprised to see more and more tech companies and manufacturers setting up their businesses in India in order to enter the market, which again will be good news for if you're a Tesla shareholder. There's a lot of potential customers over there, a lot of hardworking folks over there. Sure, the factories will be exceptional with the additional investment. Although, let me know what you think. Do you think this might turn off Elon? He might just give up on the continent, or not the continent, the country altogether. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have Planet Fitness male who identified as female exposed himself in the locker room and got arrested subsequently, with some alleging that this individual exposed himself in front of a minor. We're still waiting for the confirmation. Now, this comes to us thanks to Lives of TikTok, and she says, quote, breaking, a man who identifies as a female arrested after stripping naked in a Planet Fitness women's locker room. Quote, this is from the dispatch or 911 call. It's a man, but he says he identifies as a woman, and he won't leave the restroom, but he's just walking around showing his junk. He won't leave. That was a caller told at 911 dispatch. Lives of TikTok continued saying, quote, Planet Fitness is not safe for women, unquote. Well, more bombastic than that, or more loud than that, since it was all caps with 2 exclamation points. And this individual, I don't want to say this individual's lazy, but not putting much effort into trying to disguise or change the appearance. I guess long hair, but he's got stubble and a very strong jawline. They went viral, to say the least. He got 2.6 million views and 32,000 likes. This is not surprising given Planet Fitness policies, but I wonder, did it hurt the stock when this first broke last week? Let's see here. Planet Fitness stock. And ever since the controversy debuted, at short term, it lost about $400 million in stock value, but subsequently people bought the stock, so it about evened within a couple days of the controversy, where you had a nice grandma in the locker room, and she noticed a biological man changing in front of women in the locker room, actually shaving. Took a picture of that and showed management, and grandma goes, hey, this is inappropriate. Planet Fitness responded by canceling the membership of grandma, which shows their priorities and what they want to protect. Now, it looks like the stock, again, by the time this video is rendered and uploaded, it's going to change, but stock's $62.72 per share. They don't pay dividends, no dividend yield at all. So there's not really much of an incentive to keep the stock if you buy it, but partially digress. It looks like when the news broke, it went down by about 1%. And last week, overall, it looked like it was up by about a percentage. 1 month is down by 0.93%. Past 6 months, it's increased to 22.5%. Because again, long term, they went down pretty bad. So not too surprised that in the relative short term of 6 months, it's starting to go up. But again, this is bad PR, it's bad news, but it's barely denting the stock. Now, again, that being said, a majority of their sales all come from January every single year thanks to New Year's resolutions. That's when we'll really see the fiscal impact of this. There's a couple of people quitting, but quitting subscriptions, it does take a little bit of effort, and most people don't do that. That's why, statistically speaking, every company is pushing for subscriptions, because they know most people are not going to go through the effort of canceling it. Now, some of the top comments, let's see here. Libs TikToks, actually, she responded saying, quote, "Here's the offender's booking details. It wasn't just an indecent exposure. The article claims it was an indecent exposure to a minor. This is Planet Fitness." This gentleman has dreadlocks on. White guy with dreadlocks, interesting. And that comment from, again, she responded to her original, that got 8.4 thousand likes, which, again, I see, even if you're not a trans person, there's no legitimate reason for any adult to change in front of a child. And yet some people are pushing that, saying let's normalize that. It's fascinating that this has become almost a political issue. I don't think it should. I think 100% of moral Americans should say, yeah, there's no reason for a stranger to change in front of a child. Yet some people say we should normalize that, and it's all good. Although I guess it's not 1990s. I don't know if people actually say that anymore. Now, going to some of the top comments, you have Paul Suzupa saying, quote, "Hey, Planet Fitness, you realize that you're going to be sued into bankruptcy if you keep allowing men to invade women's locker rooms and sexually harass them like this, right? Or do you not care and just hate women more than staying in business?" I'm quoting 6.2 thousand likes, which you'll be interested to see. Again, most of these things, culturally speaking, at the end of more often than not, I'd say they end up in the legal realm, and that'll be another vector where it'll be a really big public outcry, depending on how it is ruled. And that'll have a big ripple effect on, if they actually change policies or not. Red Wave Press says, quote, "At least the police will protect innocent women from these deranged individuals. Planet Fitness doesn't care about women. They only care about pleasing far leftists and pedos. Follow if you agree," getting 1,000 likes. Now, that being said, this also greatly depends on the state and jurisdiction. We've seen this with many cultural issues where something might be illegal or legal, and police just kind of enforce it on their own whim. We saw this with drag shows in the United States, especially ones that target minors, where they have the quote-unquote child-friendly drag shows. No, spoiler, there's no such thing because they're all inherently sexually themed and you're stripping in front of children. Now, most areas in the U.S. on the books, in terms of the legal law, says, no, yeah, we shouldn't, that's illegal, you'll be arrested. And yet, there are some police that not only do they watch it, just let it happen, they actually protect those types of events. So some of the police are actually protecting institutions, or I guess more accurately, they're protecting some of these private companies that are hosting child-friendly drag shows. Even though it's technically illegal, but culturally speaking, a lot of those police are cowards, and some of them do believe that, oh yeah, it's a good thing to have this. So again, that's another important thing to think about. It is a big cultural thing of, it might be legal or illegal on the books, but culturally, what's going to win at the end of the day? You also have Libercat Media TM saying, quote, "Chain gyms are no longer safe for women, stay away from them." And they have a picture of the placard from LA Fitness saying transgender individuals may use the locker room associated with the gender with which they identify. Which, that was not cheap to make. This is a nice multicolored placard. They didn't just print this out on printer paper for 18 cents, or 13 cents maybe if they did black and white. LA Fitness legitimately spent money on a plastic placard with their logo in dual color. That's not cheap. And they have that text there. They went all out. I mean, imprinting is a big industry, and usually you pay per color. That's a pretty penny. That got 1.3 thousand likes. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, "Time to bankrupt Planet Fitness," getting 5.7 thousand likes. Let's see here. Sandy says, quote, "Accurate," and is a meme of a person smiling and says, "Democrats when men pretend to be women." Then the person is crying blood and angry, saying, quote, "Kids pretend to be Indians on Halloween." That got 3.3 thousand likes. Valentin Gomez says, quote, "GL to all the pedos. We need to protect women's spaces. Also, let's get Planet Fitness delisted from the stock exchange for putting women in danger." Cooking 757 likes, which is an interesting idea. I'm not sure if you could legally get a company delisted based on policies. I know the most common reason we see companies getting delisted from the New York Stock Exchange is usually because their stock drops below $1 per share, in which they usually do a reverse stock split and try to get back up to that requirement. Planet Memes says, quote, "People are really abusing this as identified as crap to fulfill their gross behaviors." I'm quoting 1,000 likes. Scroll down more and more. General TM says, quote, "Planet Fitness doesn't care about the customers, especially the females," getting 671 likes. Well, Turtle says, quote, "Planet Fitness caters to pedos and groomers," getting 677 likes. Let's see here. Dave, the Meme Smith, has a meme, accurate name, and the meme is of a man with a trans towel in the women's locker room, and a girl says, "Sir, And he responds saying it's ma'am, and she says, ma'am, why do you have a boner? That got 724 likes. Let's see here. Trump AI says Planet Fitness sounds like a shithole, getting 527 likes. Wild Bill NC says boycott Planet Fitness, getting 303 likes. Bradley Production says, quote, this is exactly what we predicted would happen, getting 397 likes. Which, yeah, everyone keeps talking about the slippery slope theory. I mean, how many times do you have to see that to know it's like the slippery slope rule? It's not just a theory. It's being proven time and time again with a myriad of issues, culturally and politically. Reddit Live says, quote, don't worry, Reddit told me this never happens. Like, we're getting 544 likes, which, yeah, that's pretty. We've seen this very many times politically and culturally. You're first told this doesn't happen. They're saying, well, it happens, but it's not that big of a deal. Then it says this happens, but why do you care? Then it says it happens, you have to care. Then it says it happens, you have to applaud it. And we've seen that with time and time again. Scrolling down, Ricky Genie says, quote, Planet Fitness choose to become the destination of perverts and weirdos, getting 63 likes. And again, there's got to be some contrarian statements in here because, again, there are many millions of Americans who want this. It's quite concerning, but there are people who will go to Planet Fitness just because they have this policy. Now, I don't think at the end of the day that populace is enough to actually sustain the company from a fiscal perspective. That being said, in terms of the stock price, that's pretty easy to pump up because, again, that could be, you're investing just based on their belief systems, or a lot of people with a lot of money who think they want to support this institution, they'll still buy more stock. Really, we'll see, again, January 2025, we will see the tires hit the pavement, so to say, to see how much of this impact, how much of this boycott is really having an effect on them fiscally if their memberships just tank completely and the number of people who sign up for new memberships is a fraction of what it was the year before. So, let me see here. Do one more. So Aaron Elizabeth Health Nut News says, quote, so I just filmed outside the Jacksonville Planet Fitness and posted my footage of an alleged bomb threat, of which most of us didn't think is real and maybe called in by PF. The founder just did an interview saying the gym is destroyed. Are you boycotting this shitness? And of 845 votes, 97.4 said yes, of course. 2.6% said no, I support groomer gyms. That got 74 likes. So it'll be interesting to see at the end of the day, are they getting more clients than they're alienating based on these policies? I don't think so at this time. Granted, the U.S. is changing dramatically with demographics and preferences. So maybe someday. But again, from a purely business perspective, analytical perspective, it just doesn't seem at all to be a fiscal reason they are doing this. It has to be based on their cultural and political beliefs, because again, they're not making more money because of this policy. Well, so let me know, when's the last time you actually been to a Planet Fitness? Would you ever sign up for them again? And if you're a gal tuning in, do you feel safe at Planet Fitness? As always, I would be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, well, you actually have Elon, can't help but notice, oh yeah, let's see here. There's actually no political diversity at NPR. Granted, I don't think anyone on the planet is surprised, so maybe there's two people who are realistically surprised. It's known for being a far-left institution for decades. Now, this was announced, it looks like, the first post before Elon reacted, oh, let's see here, comes from Paul Sperry, and he says, quote, NPR whistleblower receives NPR DC newsroom, includes 87 registered Democrats and 0 Republicans. And he said, quote, during a meeting, one of NPR's best journalists said if it was good, we weren't following the Hunter laptop story because it helped Trump. Or because it could help Trump. And I got 14.5 million views and 9.3 thousand likes. Your tax dollars, well, our tax dollars at work. Now, Elon responded saying, quote, sounds balanced, like, quote, and a little laugh emoji, and he got 13.8 million views and 55,000 likes. One of the first comments actually comes from our favorite leftist, Luke Zaleski. Well, not really favorite, but do follow him so that we have some little contrarian statements from time to time. It makes it a little more interesting being an echo chamber. So Luke says, quote, you're living through the longest continual propaganda campaign and hostile political takeover attempt in American history of humanity, guys, And do you think it's unrelated to Elon being a right-wing wingnut who thinks elections and vaccines are fake? You're not paying attention, unquote. While being mentally vacuous, that did get 28 likes and 2 responses. Let's see here. You also have, yeah, there's something, again, just grammatically, that also sounds awkward. Right-wing wingnut? That might be grammatically correct, but that just sounds terrible wording-wise. But nevertheless, you also have Paul Zazupa saying, quote, I imagine everyone at NPR still walks around wearing masks, and even those pink women march hats, getting 84 likes. Though, ironically, they can't define what a woman is. Julia says, defund NPR, and she says, our tax dollars finance National Public Radio. We pay those people to lie to us, getting 507 likes. Scrolling down more and more. Wall Street Ape says, quote, the mainstream media is comprised of 100% far-left raging liberal Democrats. There isn't a single ounce of truth left, getting 364 likes. Scrolling down. Not seeing any kind. Let's see here. Donna Marie says, quote, coming soon, bird flu 2024's election infection, getting 10 likes. Let's see. It looks like we have another contrarian statement. Phoenix Wise, the rock band Resistance. And this person, let's see. This person is a singer, songwriter, straight edge vegan, alleged man, philosopher, activist, lover, author, progressive, gay flag, LGBTQIA plus ally, hashtag FBR, hashtag resist, hashtag Antifa, hashtag BLM, hashtag GITTO. This person has 89,000 followers during 2020. And the profile picture is him with a ponytail, holding an electric guitar in the middle of nature. Presumably you don't have an amplifier. And wearing a t-shirt that says vegan for, and it lists animals. I don't want to say he's mentally vacuous, or perhaps he is insane. But there are a lot of red flags there. Especially who uses a profile picture with a t-shirt. As we all know, men should always suit up, obviously. And a ponytail, and a vegan. Yeah, so this is the little background on this guy. And he says, quote, is it interesting thought that NPR has never been accused or charged with lying or reporting dishonest news and are regarded as highly reliable and reputable and unbiased? Yet all the conservative media, such as Fox News, are being charged and found guilty of lying. And there's a picture of a dog defecating to Elon, and it says right-wing propaganda. While being mentally vacuous, I did get 22 likes. And I can't help but think anyone with a modicum of intelligence would say NPR is absolutely biased. It's one of the most biased outlets out there. Have you ever heard of anyone who says, I trust NPR? They're really unbiased. No, no one intelligent has ever said that. But it did get 22 likes and 3 responses. Let's see here. Scrolling down more and more. Mike Durrett says, quote, no one has thought about NPR as honest for over a decade, and 35 likes. Let's see. The Chelsea Forum says, quote, still true, and it's a picture of an anonymous guy saying, quote, one day many will hang their heads in shame when they realize the evil they defended and the heroes they ridiculed. Getting 86 likes. Kozor says, quote, NPR has been such a commie orgy for so long. I'm glad to see their ratings have been absolutely plummeted, getting 20 likes. Michael Quinn Sevilla says, quote, NPR's idea of balanced newsrooms is having a blend of radical Marxist, neo-Marxist, and hard left socialists, getting 44 likes. Scrolling down more and more. Adrian simply said hashtag free speech. Keep going, Elon. As Elon typing at a computer with a rocket in the background, getting 106 likes. Let's see. Adam Lewinsky says, quote, NPR has completely lost the narrative. They claim nonsense like being punctual is a form of racism and white supremacy, unquote, getting 37 likes, which, yeah, that's pretty morally vacuous for them to say the least. Alex says, quote, legacy media lies a lot to the public by omission, getting 38 likes. Let's see here. much too old to feel this damn young, saying, quote, I'm pretty sure this is a political makeup of literally every mainstream media office, getting 37 likes. So, let's see. Then you have Sick Cat 10. Profile picture is in fact of a cat. And it's a picture of Dr. Evil saying, quote, crooked Joe Biden is losing to Trump. And then the gal from, Austin Powers screams and says, quick, release the bird flu, getting 16 likes, which, yeah, that was trending for a while. Let's see here. So it looks like overwhelming, yeah, pretty much overwhelming support for people agreeing that NPR is completely biased and vacuous. Let me know, when's the last time you intentionally listened to NPR? Have you ever donated to them? And do you really think they're not biased? I mean, do you know anyone, like, talking around the water cooler, have you ever met anyone who actually says, oh yeah, NPR, I trust them, they're unbiased, they're a great source for news? I mean, I haven't, but as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Vivek on steps to ensure fair voting and unite the USA going viral. This comes thanks to Vivek X Twitter profile account, and he says, quote, this is how we move beyond fights over stolen elections and unite our country. 1. Make Election Day a national holiday. 2. Single-day voting. 3. Paper ballots. 4. Government-issued voter ID to match voter file. 5. English as the sole language that appears on the ballot. Simple, unquote. And he was actually responding to Mike Benz saying, quote, Botswana, we have less election security than Botswana. Which isn't saying much, probably. And that did get 1.5 million views and 37,000 likes. And one of the first responses comes from Elon simply saying, yeah, getting 2.8 thousand likes. And yeah, it seems like some simple steps. Now, granted, if you want to cheat, you probably don't want those steps. But I always thought it was weird. We have all the BS, all the bullshit holidays on the planet. Every day seems to be some type of holiday, and yet we don't have a day off for elections. Be a pretty straightforward. Just make that a holiday. Everyone votes on the same exact day. And you have one or two exceptions for soldiers that are overseas fighting, and the NASA pilots are up in the air. I mean, I can't but think that would bolster a lot of people's faith in the system. I mean, would it change your perception? I mean, again, sometimes it's taking days or weeks until we know the results. I mean, it doesn't happen in other countries. Now, in terms of paper ballots, at the end of the day, one of the biggest issues with, cybersecurity and voting is the human error. So again, if you have someone physically counting the ballots, there is a chance, not even through negligence, or not even through malice, just through the human error, just accidentally make an issue, they might not tally it right. So I've been trying to think of how you can conceivably count votes quickly and efficiently and the most accurately. And I actually don't know if that would be even possible. Now, with paper ballots, you could have something scan it to count it, but then you're also introducing technologies. So, I mean, a wise man once by the name of Thomas Sewell once said, there's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs. You also have, government-issued voter ID, which you would think would be common sense, but I'm told it's racist to ask for an ID in some cases. Some people have legitimately said that. My family came from Cuba. None of them had issues getting an ID. In fact, I don't know anyone ever who has had an issue getting an ID. I've never seen an interview of someone saying I wasn't able to vote because I couldn't get an ID. And yet we keep hearing like it's so hard to get an ID. It's prohibitive. Yet you need an ID to buy any sort of controlled substance, like liquor. You need an ID if you want to check out a library book. If you want to pick up your prescription. I mean, there's pretty much everything you do, nearly everything you do on a daily basis requires it. Yeah, some people are saying, oh yeah, it's too prohibitive. Right. Scrolling down more and more. We found it. A contrarian statement. We have Luke Zaleski, our favorite leftist. Well, not really favorite, but he is very consistent in his leftist beliefs and don't want to get too bored in an echo chamber. So Luke Zaleski, who, again, wears a V-neck in his profile picture. Pathetic to say the least. Now, Luke Zaleski says, quote, Trump's long con for 2024, rewrite history by pretending he didn't fail at COVID, crash the economy, surrender Afghanistan, incite insurrection, and actually won. He's just the same old filthy lying traitor and fraud propagandist who never built the wall Mexico never paid for, quote. Getting 31 likes. Granted, is mostly mentally vacuous statement. There are some people who like that. And in fact, one of the people who responded to him was Jonathan Klein saying Vivek equals clown, getting 11 likes. Now, that being said, I mean, that was one of the best economies in my lifetime. Starting into Afghanistan, that wasn't under his. He didn't make that final call. He said here's stipulations on we'd leave Afghanistan if you hit A, B, and C, which they never did, and then later Biden chose to just push it out. But granted, I'm not too surprised Luke would say that. Western Lensman said, quote, if you don't want an ID required to vote, you want to cheat. Simple. Getting 1.9 thousand likes. Let's see. Dave Benner, nemesis of Neocon, said, if you want voter ID and paper ballots, this is the only marketing campaign that will work. And it says, don't let Trump cheat, demand voter ID and paper ballots. And got 110 likes. American Diesel says, quote, thoughts Vivek. And it says, quote, if illegal aliens are voting, isn't that foreign interference in our elections? Getting 350 likes. Valentin Gomez says, quote, we have to blow up these corrupt voting machines and only citizens vote. Military and disabled get to mail your ballot. Getting 304 likes. Let's see here. You have Red Dawn Warning saying, quote, 3 years since the Great Steal and nothing's been done to secure the election process, getting 139 likes. Let's see. Vivek Ramaswamy, a parody account, says, quote, by making Election Day a national holiday and ensuring single-day voting, it promotes greater participation. Paper ballots and government-issued voter IDs will bolster security and confidence in the electoral process, getting 263 likes. Iran says, quote, we know what will make it legitimate because that's what they refuse to do. France banned mail-in voting in 1975 due to fraud. Mexico banned mail-in voting in 1992 due to fraud. Belgium banned mail-in voting in 2018 due to fraud. Sweden does not permit mail-in voting. Italy does not permit mail-in voting. Ukraine does not permit mail-in voting. Russia does not permit mail-in voting. Japan does not. No Middle Eastern country permits mail-in voting. No Latin American country permits mail-in voting. And that got 100 likes. Although, in full transparency, Ukraine they also don't permit elections. Well, good old Mr. Zelensky said, oh yeah, we'll have elections if the United States pays for it. Although he did ban a lot of his political opposition as well as churches. Scrolling down here. More and more we got. Sir Majesty saying, quote, I support this. Right now, our election integrity is worse than some third world countries, getting 94 likes. Robert Seaver says, quote, with all due respect, none of these would fly in our modern woke era. Instead, we will get another manufactured health crisis, mandatory mail-in ballots, BLM activists tabulating the votes over a 2-week period, and Biden will win by a landslide without a single debate. I'm quoting 192 likes. Which, yeah, it's fascinating to see the average, many Americans believe you should not need a voter ID. I never met anyone with a modicum of intelligence who believes that. That being said, there are millions of people who do have that belief set. I don't think I've actually met any of them face to face. If you have, let me know. I'd love to hear the counter argument for that. Again, the cliche, it's so hard to get an ID. No, it really isn't. It's one of the easiest things ever. Josh Artery says, quote, 6 fake electors, 7 Trump tells VP to reject real electors, 8 GOP pretends, 6 and 7 didn't have him, getting 54 likes and a contrarian statement. Rare, but interesting to say the least. And Trump was literally saying for a recall in Georgia, saying find the votes. So do a retabulation or recount more accurately. Granted, I might not be able to speak with too much accuracy in terms of, stumbling over my words or talking too fast. However, I have a theory. If you click the subscribe button, it may assist in my speaking in neptune. I'm not going to get perfect overnight, but I can't help but notice, starting with the first couple episodes where I had no subscribers, well, my speaking got a lot better in comparison. I was speaking a little bit slower these days, believe it or not, and articulating a little bit more, trying to emphasize my voice so it's not so monotone. So it's been a modicum of improvement as the subscriber count has increased, and my theory is, if you click that button, it may assist with my speaking journey to someday have a modicum of more speaking capacity. So if you, again, click that button, or if you already are, appreciate it as well, tell a friend or share it, I would, as always, really appreciate it. So it looks like overwhelming positive support for Vivek. And, the downside is everyone always complains about election rules and laws, but really the headlines only care about it once out of every 4 years. So it's a very short window where there's really any consumer, or I guess in this case citizen support for it, any changes at all. And you also have to navigate all through 50 states. So there are a lot of variables actually if you want to have a lot of changes go in your favor either way. It'll be interesting to see how states may change their policies to try to make elections more secure. Let me know what are your suggestions, and do you think you might be able to, make this election a little bit more secure this time around, or bolster the consumer satisfaction or their belief in the system? I mean, as always, I would be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Biden saying you cannot own a cannon, which it's an utter lie. You can, and you absolutely should. Now, this is from an interview that Biden had recently, and it was first posted by RNC Research, X Twitter. And Biden, well, I'm not sure he'll be able to speak. That might be an interesting competition. Who speaks more articulately, Biden or myself? That might be a tough call. Now, without further ado, I was about to say, his voice is infinitely better than mine. I usually say that, but again, in this case, I don't know. It might be a tough call.
From the very beginning, I used to teach the Second Amendment in law school. Oh. From the very beginning, there were limitations. You couldn't own a cannon. You couldn't. You could own a rifle, a gun, but there were certain things you couldn't do. But they weren't weapons of war.
Again, that shows how mentally vacuous that statement is. You absolutely can and should. Again, when the founding fathers, the whole point of the Second Amendment is to defend yourself from a corrupt government. It has nothing to do with hunting. And back then, they had the same, if not better, armaments than governments. In fact, you had private citizens in the U.S. who had entire warships. They had the same exact military arms that the military had. And that did not just include small arms, which include rifles and pistols. They also had cannons. In most states in the United States, you can own a cannon. Ironically, it's even less regulated than a firearm because it's considered an antique, a curio, and a relic in many cases. Now, in the U.S., you could actually own a grenade launcher, a short-barreled rifle, a machine gun, a short-barreled shotgun with the proper paperwork. Now, granted, I would say this is unconstitutional, but because of the 1934 Firearm Act, or the NFA Act, all you have to do is pay a $200 tax stamp to the U.S. Treasury Department and go through the proper paperwork that any FFL that is properly licensed can help you with. Again, not legal advice, but the rule of thumb or the standard process is the paperwork, a photo ID, passport style, as well as fingerprints. I would also suggest setting up a trust. But again, with the proper paperwork, you can buy suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, machine guns if they were manufactured and registered before 1986. And yes, cannons, even explosives, grenades. Again, just takes paperwork, time, and unfortunately, money. One of the few times in our life where tax and inflation worked in our favor, $200 in 1934 is equivalent to about $4,500 now, which is why when the law passed in 1934, it destroyed those types of products on the consumer level because most people couldn't afford it. A suppressor was $7 back then. Imagine paying a $200 tax on a $7 item. Oh yeah, and you also have to pay what I believe unconstitutional sales tax for something that is your right. So not only, yes, you can own a cannon, I'd argue you should. Who the heck, yeah, that'd be awesome. In fact, why not own a grenade launcher? You can buy one. Again, just do the proper paperwork. Just go on the internet and search NFA items for sale or how to purchase, and go to a standard FFL dealer, a federal firearms license, aka, and if they are licensed for those particular items, they will walk you through the process on how to legally purchase them. And it is the most cliched thing. Politicians keep dragging out saying, oh yeah, you can't own a cannon. Yeah, you can absolutely own a cannon. And from a federalist constitutional perspective, you should be able to own anything that the government has, because that's what it was intended for. I understand public schools usually don't teach this anymore, and there are a lot of Americans who don't believe this. They think the government should have infinitely more firepower than you. That being said, if you read a history book, I know most people don't, more often than not, or actually every time, when the government has infinitely more power than the people, and they disarm the people, that's when the worst things in history ever happen. Time and time again. Literally every single time. So, I don't know if this clip will go viral. Again, it did get 1.2 million views and 5.9 thousand likes. Now, in terms of the political moves on the chessboard, Trump, I'm not sure how much he could run with this particular topic, because Trump, during his presidency, did ban bump stocks, which, again, was a terrible, terrible decision and terrible executive order, partially because of legal precedent, and they're trying to redefine what a machine gun is. At the time, a bump stock were very popular. They allowed you to use the momentum of the firearm to make it simulate full auto. But it was really you, legally, were pulling the trigger every single time, which is the legal definition of a semi-automatic rifle, which you can own in terms of being newly manufactured. Machine guns, again, had to be manufactured and registered to the U.S. government before 1986, and if you want to purchase it, it is called a transferable machine gun, legal in most states, and because of supply and demand, they're prohibitively expensive. A full auto machine gun, an AR-15 pattern style variant, will cost you about $30,000. As opposed to a new AR-15, going to run you around $1,000, maybe $2,000 for a nice model. So I'm not sure how much, and again, the comparison, politically speaking, is, unfortunately, I think firearms is a human right, is a God-given right for you to defend yourself and your family. I really wish it wasn't a political issue, but for decades it has been, the right says, yeah, we're very pro-gun, and the left says we're anti-gun, we want more gun control, we want to disarm the good guys. That's been it for a while. And unfortunately, I'm pretty skeptical on the right because, politically speaking, Republicans had the House, they had the Senate, and they had the White House. And yet, they couldn't get the suppressors off the NFA list, which would allow you to purchase one with the standard 4473 background check, and without the $200 tax stamp, just your local sales tax, which, again, I think they should be exempt in that regard. And there's a lot of support for that. I mean, it would help people with their hearing loss. It would also help people shoot guns more accurately. It is more enjoyable. I highly recommend it. And it is currently legal to buy your suppressor in 42 states. And yet, the Republicans couldn't get that bill passed. They acquiesced. So that's why I'm always skeptical on, politicians saying they're pro-gun, whether they're left or right. I mean, show me your track record. And again, there are some good things getting done. I mean, a lot of states are also passing constitutional carry. And from a constitutional perspective and a federalist perspective, what the Founding Fathers wanted, I 110% agree with that being done. So there are some wins on the Second Amendment. But it's gotten to, and politically speaking, we've heard this being said before. It's not too new. But I wonder, for moves on the political chessboard, will Biden continue to shoot things like the assault weapon ban, which bans guns basically just because they're black and they look scary? When mechanically speaking, that ban would just be going after a semi-auto. It functions identical to the other guns. They have the same cartridge, same magazine fed. Now, we did have we had an assault rifle ban, the Clinton ban, which did ban guns based on their characteristics as well as magazine capacity. And there are some American citizens who, I guess, don't read history books who would support those things. Now, Biden has hinted he wants to bring those back, and he said it a couple times. That could be a big political issue for 2024. Now, because of the Summer of Love riots and a lot of people starting to see, oh yeah, the police aren't going to defend myself, I need to defend my family and my friends. I think that could actually push people who are in the middle to maybe vote right this year. Again, Trump does not have a perfect track record. That bump stock ban was terrible. And a lot of the hardcore gun enthusiasts and firearm, Second Amendment believers see that as a big stain on his legacy. That being said, it's also Trump versus Biden. So if you believe in guns, kind of have to do de facto Trump or a libertarian candidate. Let me know, do you think this will be a big political issue? Is there enough people who would really resonate with loving or hating another assault weapon ban? A lot of speculation the Supreme Court would shoot that down because these guns are, because of I forget the specific case from the Supreme Court, but there is a case in which they said you cannot ban guns in common usage. The AR-15 is also the most popular rifle, with over 50% of all rifles being the AR-15 style pattern, partially because it's so, efficiently brilliant designed by Eugene Stoner. Also, the patent's expired, so any company can do it. So it'll be interesting to see. Let me know, do you think firearms in the Second Amendment, will that be a big political issue this year? Or do you think, people kind of know if you vote left, more often than not, you'll get bans. Vote right, you'll usually get no additional bans. Maybe you'll get one good gun law passed, or you'll get some rights back, maybe. Do you think those votes are kind of baked in, or do you think this will be a big topic when it comes to the 2024 election? As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Also, not legal advice. If you want to buy those NFF items, go to FFL. They'll walk through their process, and they'll help you out. Now, going to the business blunder of the day, you have Walmart going to settle a case for $94 million with an alleged allegation that they had misweighted food. Now, this comes to us thanks to Sarah Ali Ashardi over at USA Today. And she noted that Walmart customers who purchased certain weighted groceries or bagged fruit may qualify to be included in a $45 million settlement after a class action lawsuit claimed the retailer charged consumers more than it should have for those products. They note that Verify reported the customers recently received an email notice about the recall. According to the class action lawsuit filed October 2022, Walmart overcharging customers who purchase sold by weight products. The lawsuit claims Walmart falsely inflated the product weight, mislabeled the weight of bagged produce, and overcharged for clearance items. Customers who purchased eligible weighted groceries from Walmart between October 19, 2018 and January 19, 2024 qualify to be included in that settlement. They note that the settlement, however, has not been fully approved and is in the final approval hearing has been scheduled for June 2024. Customers have until June 5th to submit a claim to be included in the settlement. But again, more often than not, they're going to choose to settle, so it just has to be signed off on. And I can't help but wonder how much someone's time is worth. Do you have to search for your receipts to see, did I buy produce here? I mean, let's see here. So it looks like it's capped at $500 per person. And you do have to submit a receipt. Wait, so anyone who doesn't have a receipt could still submit a claim for payment between $10 and $25, depending on how many products they attest to purchasing. I don't know how many Americans keep their receipts. They also note that, quote, those who purchased an eligible product and have a receipt will be entitled to receive 2% of the total cost of substantiated weighted goods and badged citrus purchase, capped at $500, according to this settlement's website. Which, I'm not sure how many people actually keep those receipts. I mean, truth I don't know how many people keep receipts in general, with the exception of people who own small businesses or you actually claim things under taxes that stipulate you have to claim or keep those receipts for about 7 years. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, more often than not, this is going to be settled because, again, just have to be signed off on, and Walmart doesn't have to go to court, spend a bunch of money on lawyers and drag this out and get some negative PR and lose some consumer faith in the fact that what they're buying, the weight might not be accurate. So the fact that they didn't properly, maybe it's an issue where they didn't properly calibrate their scales, they didn't, or maybe it was they were trying to make an extra buck or something. But either way, it's good that they're going to sell because they'll get out of the news eventually, and again, it just has to be signed off on. But again, having an issue where you're overcharging consumers when your whole brand is providing the best value for consumers, I gotta say, Walmart, that is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.